This first pattern is a real simple layout for half square triangles. It's pinwheels, as you can see. It's a very simple, easy pattern to do. Now this next pattern is called Around the World. And it's more of a traditional pattern that's been around for a while, and you will notice how I use the crumbs with that solid blue fabric to create that around the world effect. This next one is called Optical Illusion. A little bit more complicated to put together, but it does create a great illusion in it. And this last one is called Twinkling Star. And you have to pay attention to where you're at in the pattern in order to get this laid out correctly. So today we're talking about half square triangles and your crumbs. Now, as you saw in those pictures, all of those layouts were done with the same exact half square triangles and crumb squares. This is a real simple, easy way, and there's many, many more layouts that you can do with half square triangles and your crumb squares. So here's a picture of a finished quilt of half square triangles and crumbs. Now there's many designs that you can do with half square triangles that are very similar to this pattern here that I have on the design wall. This is called twists and turns. There's the regular traditional half square triangles where they're just all lined up in a row. And then there's several that are very unique, more like a spider web or even arrows going in different directions. These are all half square triangle layouts that you can do with your scraps and those bigger pieces that we've been cutting off of our backs. Hi, I'm Roberta from Quilt Crafters Corner, and as a passionate quilter, I love new ideas and techniques, and I'm on a mission to share those new ideas and techniques with you so that you can use up some of your stash. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about half square triangles and those crumbs that we have so many of. They're scraps and they need to be used because they're not doing any good in that drawer over there. So let's talk about half square triangles. I want to thank everybody for subscribing, and if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe. It does help me out and I really do appreciate it. So let's talk half square triangles and let's go over to the cutting table. I'll show you kind of my ideas on how I use up not only my crumbs or my scraps, but also those bigger pieces that I've cut off of backs and I've sorted and put to one side. This is a great way to use those bigger pieces up so that you can get a very unique, distinct pattern like this. Okay, here we are at the cutting table. Now let me show you, these are scraps. These are all just scraps that have been sewn together. And as you can see, you know, it starts in the middle and they work their way out. These are actually 6-inch squares. And you can see there's all different colors of fabric in here. You don't have to just stick to one color like that Starry Night scraps that I did a while back. The other thing that's really kind of nice, and I don't have any here, is more of the neutral colors. Use your neutral colors up and put these together like this. And you can add whites and creams and things like that, but you could add something maybe with a little bit more pattern to it, but it does appear to be a neutral or a neutral background where it's kind of white. Gosh, I don't have any here right now. They're all down below. So you can do this two ways. I've done this with colors. I've done it with neutrals. There are several different ways that you could put these crumb squares together. Very simple, very easy. Don't overthink this. Don't kind of stress about what you put next to each other. I mean, some of these fabrics you would think, well, those don't go together, but it works. So it's a nice way to use up some of these beautiful fabrics that we have. I mean, some of them, they're just stunning, gorgeous fabrics. And look at how lovely this turns out. It turns out to be a really nice square. And got cute little turtles and the polka dots. And there's just, you know, all different colors here. So now let's talk about this. Is one of those pieces of fabric that I had left over from backs that I had just recently done. And now this is a really good chunk of fabric that is great for alternate squares to do these half square triangles with. So these are 6-inch squares, so I would cut 6-inch strips, and I would get probably, let's see, what have I got here? Probably 6, 8, 10. I'd get 10 squares just out of this one stretch. So that's halfway there to getting, what I need. So here are the squares that I have cut up already. And as you can see, these are just, simple, easy 6-inch squares. So what I do is I flip these over and I draw a line from point to point here. And this is just a white pencil that I have that I just use. And I draw a line. Now I've got my line there, and what I'll do is I'll just line it up on top of a crumb square, is what I call them. And then I'll take this to the machine, I'll sew down one side, and then I'll sew up the other side. And this will give me 2 half square triangle units. So here's 2 that I have already done, and you can see I've sewn them already on the line, and now all I really need to do is cut them apart. I have 2 now. So there's 2 more half square triangle units that I have. And this is a simple, really simple, easy idea, and you can make a lot of different things with these half square triangles. Like I said, there are a multitude of patterns that you can do with half square triangles. These make great scrap quilts. These make great charity quilts. These make great quilts for kids, because there's so many different elements in there that is interesting to look at, and it keeps them pretty occupied. Kids love when you do things that they can pick out little things out of it. So there you go. Simple, easy peasy. You can't really go wrong with these scraps because you're using them up, plus you're using up this fabric here, and now we have a whole nother element that we can add to our quilts. This is an easy idea, very, very simple, very easy, and you're using up scraps. Now, like I said, this is a real simple, easy idea. There's a multitude of patterns that you can use with these half square triangles. Now, I've used a darker set of scraps here. You could use lighter ones, or I could have used a lighter fabric as my alternate for these. There's different ways that you could take this and use it to your advantage to get some really interesting patterns and a unique idea. I love this idea because you're using up those scraps, you're using up that extra fabric, and like I said, it's not doing any good in my house. So let's get it made and get them moving on their way. This is a great idea. I hope you try it because it is a lot of fun to do. And it's interesting because when you start opening those up, going, oh, look at this. Oh, isn't this interesting? Especially when you start matching up these scraps, you get this interesting patterns here, and it's really nice and unique to look at. So I hope you enjoyed this idea. I know when I first discovered this, I was like, oh, this is great. I love the way this is turning out. So leave me a comment. Let me know. Are you going to try this? I would love to know. Also, thanks for subscribing. And if you haven't gotten the quilt design checklist, it's in the link in the description below. So go check that out. And in the next video, we're going to talk more about what to do with those scraps, but also I want to keep giving you ideas so that you can go, oh, well, what if I did this? Or what if I did that? I want you to start thinking about how all the different ways that you can use up all those scraps that we've been saving forever and get them put together into something really pretty like this. So until next time, keep quilting, and I'll see you then.